Jeannie Allen has been fighting to reform America's public education system for over 30 years. She says we are the best country with the worst education system.
Well over 70% of our kids are not reading, writing, doing civics, no history, science at what we consider proficient. So we have a nation's report card, and we make these small little inch strides with a couple of points here and there, and that's it.
And you point at what you call the traditional factory-style model school.
It's just like your traditional factory where everything goes the way it always has in kind of down a assembly line. So you have kids in seats with the same number of desks in a building that looks relatively the same since the very beginning.
Jeannie, thanks for being here. You're a warrior. You've been fighting this for a long time. You say we are the best country with the worst education system, so that's pretty sad. Why do you think that's the case?
We're spending 3 times as much as we spent 20 years ago for fewer students getting less than half the results in a nation that is the most free and has the most progress in every other industry. I'd say that's terrible.
Well, how do you explain that? Because what you just said, that would stack up to the best results, but it doesn't. Why?
Because what you just heard here is that we have a system that's dysfunctional. In fact, it borderlines under corrupt. We spend money on districts and structures. We're basically in the real estate business, Dr. Phil. We spend money on structures, buildings, time in a classroom versus how well a student is doing. And so why are we running a 19th century factory model of education when it's the 21st century, when you can learn on the road, when you can learn from one person, when you can learn with 60 people? It doesn't have to be 20 or 2. It doesn't have to be a large school. It doesn't have to be a small school. There are so many ways to do this. We're not educating children because we have failed to learn how to actually teach and expose them to the wide variety of learning that's available in this world.
Well, here's one of the problems that I see, and this is concerning to me. In the last 19 years, you've seen students increase 7.6%, teachers increase 8.7%, but district administration increase 87.6%. We got a whole lot of people in the offices, 87.6% administrative growth. Why aren't they helping the teachers in the classrooms?
Well, and we used to say when they would come in and they would do academic days with us, we're like, please come. Like, my favorite line used to be, I love what you're saying. Could you come model that for me? And they bolt out of the room. Anytime you ask them to come into your classroom, model it, ask for the support, they'll leave.
Because they didn't ask you how to actually shape the school.
No, they're just handing it to us.
They didn't ask you what it takes to actually get to that point. What's the work you need to do? What's the school day look like? What's the school year look like?
What do your kids look
Exactly.
like?
Schools that are run and developed by teachers and people closest to the kids are the schools that are the best for them. Schools that are focused on what that student needs, not you're going to send your child to a school because it's in the area. It's I'm going to send my child to a school because I understand that they understand how to teach my kids and they believe and value my choice to do so.
I've said this is a national emergency, and I say that because if you look at the homeless population, over 90% of those folks are not literate. And when you look at who's in prison, 43% of adults at level 1 literacy skills live in poverty. 4% that are at the top level are in poverty. So clearly, education helps. 3 out of 4 food stamp recipients are at the lowest 2 levels of literacy. 90% of welfare recipients are high school dropouts. 16 to 19-year-old girls at poverty level with below average skills are 6 times more likely to have out-of-wedlock children than their reading counterparts. So we can see that illiteracy creates problems across the board. There's no question that if we are continuing to not educate our population and it's getting worse, not better, where are we headed?
And yet those statistics, they not only come from illiteracy, but they come from the fact that we sent those children to schools that did not focus on helping them get out of poverty, because for the longest time, we all equated lack of education with poverty. And we know, because we have an increasing supply of great schools outside of traditional public education, charter schools, private schools, micro schools, hybrid, online, blended, that are educating the least advantaged, that are actually exceeding the performance of some of our more advantaged students, because they are focused on those kids and what they need. They're not in the traditional bureaucracy. They're not having to report to a school board that doesn't know anything, a district that's full of all those bureaucrats, a state or federal government that tells people what to do based on where the money flows, not on how the kids do.
Why are we still in this factory model? These classrooms today look like they did 100 years ago, but yet the entire world around the school has changed.
So let me bring you to Washington, D.C., or any of the nation's capitals, where you have hundreds of organizations that grab the public money, get paid their dues or their association fees, and do nothing but lobby for the status quo. Why else would we be talking about this for almost 40 years? Because you have lobbyists, special interests, and people, as we like to call them, the blob, who do nothing but lobby for that and make parents, like mine once were, think that everything's okay, it must be your child.
What's the government role in all of this? Why are we not hearing about this? This is an absolute emergency. Where are teachers' unions in all of this? Are they helping or are they hurting? Well, guess what my opinion is? I'll tell you when we come back. Make better sleep your New Year's resolution with Cozy Earth's best-selling bamboo sheet set and bamboo pajama set. The bamboo sheet set is crafted from 100% premium viscose from bamboo, delivering unmatched softness and breathability to keep you cool and comfortable all night. These sheets get softer with every wash and are backed by a 10-year warranty, ensuring long-lasting quality. Pair your sheets with a bamboo pajama set, a timeless classic designed with soft stretch knit fabric that sleeps cooler than cotton. Its lightweight, breathable design keeps your temperature just right through the night, so you wake up feeling refreshed. Cozy Earth helps turn your home into a sanctuary where relaxation and comfort come naturally. A better year starts with better sleep. Wrap yourself in Cozy Earth. Don't wait. Head to cozyearth.com/Phil now and use my exclusive code PHIL for up to 40% off. That's cozyearth.com/Phil. If you get a post-purchase survey, say you heard about Cozy Earth from the Dr. Phil podcast. Well, tonight we're tackling the alarming state of our nation's public education system. This is a crisis and it's getting worse, not better. What needs to happen here?
Well, you can't change the system. It won't help the principals, the teachers, or the parents. What you have to do is create a new supply outside the current system that kicks that system in the butt and makes them either account or go out of business. And that's exactly what's happening across the country. The students with dyslexia are going to schools focused on kids with dyslexia. And other students are coming there. Why? Because their parents said, well, if you can teach those kids to read, you can teach my kids to read. You're seeing organizations starting private schools with kids with neurodivergent disorders. You're seeing schools for kids who are back to basic, classical academies, behavioral. High expectations get and beget students that do well. And what you have to do to create that supply, give parents who are demanding it the money to follow their kids. Why on earth are we spending money on schools and districts where kids do not get educated? Money should be strapped to the back of your backpack like cash. And you should vie for the privilege of educating my child. That's how you put bad schools out of business, you put the teachers union out of business, and you get kids educated and teachers and principals able to raise the money, earn the money to educate those kids.
I would find that a more compelling argument if these schools had a track record. But what they have a track record of doing is marketing and attracting families and skimming families from public schools, and then not a lot to show for it after that. I think we would have seen much greater shifts in the the population toward that type of school. But the reality is most of what they're talking about is experimental. And the thing about experiments, I was a science teacher, the thing about experiments is they're difficult. And most of the time, you don't find something better in an experiment. So whenever we criticize the status quo, we have to realize that the good results that we're getting are coming from the status quo, as well as the bad results. And if we're going to shift to something completely different, we have to make sure that that alternative can deliver the good results that the status quo is currently delivering, as well as address the shortcomings of it.
Well, I've been in over 200 of those organizations. A couple of things to set the record straight. 75% of our students are in traditional public schools, most not by choice. Now 25%. It used to be 90-10. It is now 75-25, so there are shifts. Secondly, they're public, they're private, they're charter, they're rural, they're urban, and there's an incredible track record. And I would bank on a parent's decision and where their child's getting educated, then I would bank on a bureaucratic assessment.
Would you consider going back to a school if it was innovative and move the needle educationally?
It depends, right? So we're kind of in a phase of our life where, like, we want to spend as much time with our kids. So putting them in a school and then having them sit there all day and then just getting a couple hours with them. So it's kind of twofold for us is we want them to have a great education, but I also want to see them grow, right? And we become best friends with them. We actually know each other on a much deeper level.
Yeah, but it's not all about you. You got to remember that there are experiences that the children need to have socially and developmentally and competitively that you have to make sure you're providing that for them as well.
Which is where the community comes in.
Right.
So the entire homeschooling, world schooling community, when we RV, when we travel, that's the first thing we do is find who's in the area. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of people that just travel full time. We meet each other in different parts of the world and do these activities, do these social events, do these
that's
events.
important. If they're still able to be on teams and do things like that. That's
Absolutely.
The microschool movement across the country is doing just that. They're providing hybrid opportunities for students. They get to create their own journey sometimes. It's project-based, and then there are times when there's the actual kind of direct instruction, and you have more and more parents, particularly single moms, creating schools like this so that they can actually meet their needs, as well as people who want the ability to pull their kids out and travel. And the money in some states follows those students to that school, making this possible because it just can't be one size. It has to be a variety of options.
Of course.